Following UFC Abu Dhabi, Umar Nurmagomedov got a huge win in the main event. Let's see kind of the aftermath and what's going on here and get my reaction to one of MMA Guru's. It's a little bit crass, but it's one of his best tweets of all time. And Corey Sandhagen's response to Umar after his loss. Let's get into it. So here we are. Corey Sandhagen reacts to his loss to Umar Nurmagomedov from MMA Fighting. Here's the tweet, here's the picture. They had a sign of respect here in the cage, knelt down, talked to each other. It was a good fight, back and forth. Was it entertaining? Not necessarily, but they had both some great technique showed, put on display. Umar mixing it up, couldn't really get the takedowns, couldn't really hold Sandhagen down for any meaningful time. Corey put on a good grappling defensive show, was able to get some sweeps, scrambles, get on top, not do any damage really, but it was impressive in terms of what he has shown in the past. Remember his title eliminator fight with Aljamain Sterling when he got wrapped up in 45 seconds and submitted very quickly by Aljamain. So here we go. Here's what Corey Sandhagen had to say. It's a tough sport. Umar is really world class. It was an honor to fight one of the world's best. Congrats to him. Gonna keep getting better like I always do. Thanks for the support. I love you guys. It's tough, man, because I like Corey. Great guy. He's really invested in the sport. He does great breakdowns. He's a smart guy. Nerdy guy. It's just, there's something about it, man. When he gets in the cage, it's like he thinks he's doing so much better than he is. I discussed in my breakdown, I just kept saying it over and over again because I don't know what else it is. There's no real explanation for it. He's a great fighter. He's got great technique. He's got that dog in him. We've seen it while on his way up when he was losing in moments, trying to in submission holds. He would fight out of it and come back and beat the guys up. That Alcantara fight years ago. He can do this, man. It's just something. He just has to keep it to, let me just pop you and get out of the way. He's too clean with it. He's gotten to this point where he's such a good striker, even though his boxing clearly needs work, that he thinks that he's doing better than he is. He's walking Umar down, leg kicking Umar, sometimes not even successfully. Umar was checking a lot of those kicks. Umar was on the back foot, kind of waiting. He was kind of playing the counter game because he was going to throw in the takedowns. And I'm just wondering, like, again, it must be the adrenaline getting to Corey, thinking he's doing better than he is. But here's what I want to talk about. MMA Guru put out this tweet. Western fathers, get your sons in MMA gyms now. We're literally making it close with these inbreds. When they start training at 2 years old, most of the Western fighters start training at about 16 and 18. This is true. Most of these kids that you see in Taekwondo class over here in America, some of them continue on into their teen years, but a lot of them just do it because it's fun. It's a good environment to learn how to have some self-defense, but they don't really continue on with it. And around here, I see a lot of Taekwondo gyms like that. Not a lot of them move on to those higher, ranks. They don't go on to compete when they're in the teenage years. Corey Sandhagen didn't start striking until he was like 16 or 17. He didn't start grappling until he was like 19 or 20. And he was able to out-scramble Umar, who's been doing this since he was 2 years old, the younger brother of Usman. He was a toddler. He's been doing this with Khabib's father in their town, training, doing this stuff day in and day out. Is he the best athlete that they can put up? I'd argue these guys, and Guru brings up a good point. And could I be wrong? Absolutely. But are these guys really as good as they are, or do they just work really hard? Are they the most athletic guys? I'd argue no. You compare Umar's body type to like an Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain's a legit born and bred athlete. That guy's an athletic specimen. Umar, Khabib, Islam, Usman, these guys are not these athletic powerhouse supreme athletes built like Greek gods. They just work hard, man. And yes, working hard will get you there, but imagine if you had the talent and that kind of work ethic and that kind of fight ability that you've just been instilled in yourself by your coaches and instilled by your own mind to work hard. These guys have just been doing it a long time. Are they really that good? I'd argue no. I'd argue if everybody started training MMA, the sport's growing up now, let's start getting these kids into the gyms. You see the Ruotolo brothers over in jiu-jitsu, what they're able to do at such a young age because they've been training for a long time since the I wouldn't say birth of jiu-jitsu, but the popularity of jiu-jitsu was rising in the early 2000s and the 90s because of the UFC, because of what the Gracies were able to promote in the UFC. And the Ruotolo brothers are kind of the product of the product coming into fruition now of that, where they're just these next level competitors at such a young age. Jiu-jitsu's always kind of seemed like it was that, well, you know, the older you get, the better you get because the more knowledge you accrue over time. But these Ruotolo brothers are kind of smoking a lot of guys, and I don't mean in one championship, but just in general. Imagine if Corey Sandhagen had been training MMA since he was 2, 3, 4. He was able to reverse Umar, who's supposed to be this great dominant grappler. Umar, who's this Taekwondo savant, great striker, and Corey Sandhagen, he didn't get beat up by him, he didn't get knocked out by him, he didn't get put down by him. So I'd be interested to see, and I think it's a challenge to, like Guru said, the Western part of the world, the Western culture. Let's start getting these kids in MMA gyms. I think it's good for them to learn fighting. It's not just about beating the Russians, beating the Dagestanis. But these guys, they just have been doing it for a long time and have great work ethic. Let's get in there. Let's throw 1,000 kids in the pool. Let's get these kids training MMA like they do with football, basketball, soccer, baseball, wrestling here in America. Let's get them in MMA. Let's see what it does. Let's see what these kids turn out to be in 10, 20 years. Because I'd argue that because Americans in general, the American athletes are more athletic and better suited for sport and are dominant athletically over a lot of other countries. So, what does that mean? Do they all beat Umar? Do they all beat Khabib? Do they all beat Islam? Probably not all of them, but I'd argue that we could find one guy who's a superb athlete, who's got the hard work ethic, who can get it done. And I'd be interested to see, how does this play out over the course of 20 years? So you tell me what you think. Do we have a chance? Do Americans, do Western culture, do we have a chance against these guys? Because they're just dominating the sport right now. And I like to see it when they're entertaining. Umar, I think, is well-rounded, crafty, in and out with the striking, fun to watch, spinning attacks, has good grappling, fun grappling. Islam has dangerous striking ability, is a good grappler. Khabib was a grounded pound guy. He just went after it. Some of these lesser guys that come over from over there in Russia just don't have it. They're just nut huggers. I think of Makayev. He comes to the forefront of my mind when I say that. But a lot of these guys just come over and they don't have that, man. Umar, Islam, Khabib, they all kind of are cut above them. But we saw what Corey was able to resist. Now let's get in there. Let's get these kids in the gyms. Let's see what they can do. And in 20 years, let's see where we're at. Eastern culture versus Western culture. It's on.